The annual meetings of the African Development Bank were held here in Nairobi. The reform of the international financial architecture was on the agenda. However, any reform must take into account the challenges of climate change. Africa needs $213 billion a year until 2030 for sustainable development. So how can we meet these challenges? Let's find out. The African Development Bank has defined its new strategy for the next 10 years. To this end, its capital has been increased from $201 billion to $318 billion, the amount needed to maintain the lender's AAA rating, the prerequisite for borrowing from financial markets at low rates. The proposal to include natural resources in the GDP of African countries was also discussed. President William Ruto singled out arable land and mineral resources.
The bank still has a big role to play, whether it's upgrading infrastructure, whether it's developing an appropriate model for growing an African private sector to offer modern jobs to our strong youth.
The new strategy is based on two major objectives: accelerating inclusive green growth and fostering prosperous, resilient economies. To achieve these goals, the bank is focusing on several priorities: lighting up Africa with modern, affordable energy, ensuring food security through agricultural transformation, improving living conditions for women and young people, and investing in human capital and sustainability.
That future generation, they're already here. We have 477 million Africans, young people below the age of 35, from 15 to 35. We have to make sure that we are able to build climate resilience for Africa. We also have to make sure that we make the young people part of the solution, not just people that are depending on others. And that's why at the African Development Bank, we have a program that supports young people to set up businesses on climate adaptation, climate mitigation. We provide them financing to be able to do that.
Recognizing the crucial role of the private sector, the AfDB intends to mobilize resources from a variety of sources, including private financing. It will strengthen collaboration with the private sector, prioritizing investments in companies, value chains, and SMEs. The aim is to triple private sector financing by 2033.
It's
time to think about alternatives too. That's why the contribution of the private sector is so welcome and eagerly awaited. That's why we'd like to see more investment from rich countries, more involvement by transforming risk, which is often put forward as a financial constraint, into an investment opportunity.
Africa's financial markets also want to break free. The bank's board of governors has called for the creation of an African rating agency. The aim is to put in place a new rating culture that takes into account the different features of African economies. This will save over $75 billion in what is termed as unfair ratings by international rating agencies.
It's not any more money, it is now life. And nothing is really precious than life. And we have to work together to protect the life of the people living in Africa. So I think the future, as I said, is more sustainable, is greener and sustainable. This will lead to the change of the global architecture when it comes to the way we're doing business. Of course, there will be a need to introduce new type of funding, a new type of products, but still we have to do more when it comes to supporting Africa.
As it marks its 60th anniversary, the African Development Bank's watchword is resilience. The COVID-19 pandemic, food insecurity, the debt crisis, conflict and political instability, and climate change cannot make us forget that Africa is brimming with assets that make it the continent of opportunities.
We have a lot of natural resources on the continent that can contribute to us reaching net zero as a global world together. We have abundant solar instruments, we have abundant hydro, we have carbon markets, which is a very, very nascent market that can produce a lot of income for young people in Africa. These are things for which we should develop skills, and our African people can benefit from them.